Yeah, I mean, if I probably highlight two, I mean, I guess as we respond to it, we're identifying three ways forward. So one of those is a shift towards hybrid church. I'll let Mark kind of develop that more perhaps in a minute, but certainly as you just think about the way people are just doing life, as we go to the supermarket, we think about click and collect or delivery, or we shop in person. I think this is just the way we do life. And yes, that's a consumer illustration, but banking, all of that, we don't just think about going into the bank shop anymore. And if banks were just thinking about success being how many people came into a branch, that model doesn't really work. And I think we probably need to reflect on what success looks like for us as a church again. Moving away from a Sunday-centric in-person gathering, perhaps. So, a shift towards hybrid church. For me, there would also be a shift towards multi-site, trying to think in that smaller communities, perhaps additional communities, resourcing other churches within that. And for us, the third one, and this is probably the one I'm take more of a direct leadership role in, but a shift towards serving the wider church. And so the other hat I wear to talk in this space for a moment is the chair of Auckland Church Leaders. So within our group, we have Catholic bishops, Anglican bishops, Salvation Army commander and chiefs, the Baptist groups, everybody right through to the large Pentecostal churches in our city. And so there's a bit like herding cats, getting all these different groups and tribes together, but it really feels to me like the Spirit of God is blowing in the direction of city movements. And so this really began before the pandemic, but I'm seeing this even from talking to city leaders in other countries right now. So to use New York as an example, people can go to our website, I think it's New York Leadership Initiative, or search for a free download book, New York Disrupted by Mac Peer. And so our group interviewed Mac Peer recently, and just hearing the story of New York, which 11 years ago formed, and they had a vision. So Timothy Keller was part of this too. Some people might know his name. And at the time, New York had 1% of people who would call themselves evangelical Christians. And they came together and said, well, we've got a vision to see within our lifetime 10% of evangelical Christians. And so a year ago, when they resurveyed and looked at what they had done, it was 3%, growing from 1% to 3%. So there's this growth, and that's happening as churches are coming together and resourcing each other, sharing ideas with each other, supporting each other. So what we've done here in Auckland is taking on a similar aspect to reread verses like Ephesians 4, make every effort to pursue the unity of the Spirit and the bond of peace, to go, now, this isn't just about our own local church. This is about the capital C church that we need to be conscious of uniting, trying to think about Jesus' words, I will build my church, not just about the local church, but the capital C church. And so trying to put the spotlight on even what other local churches are doing within our city, supporting that, encouraging that, seeing what we can learn together, and trying to see each other not as competitors, but actually colleagues in the same big mission together. And I think we all win in that space. When any church is doing well, we actually all win, or we can all win if we have a posture of humility and serving. But that, these are the values we talk about, but I think it's really hard to actually champion other churches in our own cities. But I think, to me, that's the posture of Jesus. And I think this is what the Spirit of God's doing. So serving the city as a capital C church, for me, is one of those things about the future.
A couple of things I'd like to pick up on there. You talk about multi-site. So there's always been this conversation about large church versus small church. But it would seem to me that with collaboration, you actually are sitting across both those anyway. You're not saying there's a right or a wrong, but if we work together, we're better.
Yeah, no, I think certainly right now people are more cautious of large gatherings. And the question is, will people continue to be cautious of large gatherings or not? But we certainly need to respond to that and provide either multiple locations for people or multiple services perhaps for people, trying to actually think through that and try different things. I think also in society, people are more conscious of doing things when they want to do them. On demand, I guess, is what we're used to. I don't watch the 6 p.m. news ever at 6 p.m. But at some point, probably in the evening, I will scroll through the first 10 minutes or so because I just want to get those headlines coming through. But I do that on my own time. And I think, again, we never want to think about church as a consumer product. But I think we also need to respond to the way people tend to be doing life and how do we disciple people in that context. Knowing that if we just think about services, it's 1 hour in a person's week that we're talking about. I know a group called Irresistible Church Network, or ICN, did a study where they found that people have 70 discretionary hours of the 168 hours in the week. So I think we need to be thinking about more, how do we use more than that 1 hour? How can we access more of those 70 hours and direct people towards mission? And I think, thinking about multi-site communities, thinking about other forms of mission, I think are really helpful to do that.